returning home for the spring festival, Levi Sier and I managed to snag the last 2 soft sleeper tickets. But when boarding, Levi Sier's childhood sweetheart, who only got a standing ticket, had already taken my sleeper berth. She cooed at me, "Sis, could you give me your sleeper? I can't stand for 10 hours without a seat." I refused, touching my swollen belly. "No, I'm pregnant." Little Green Plum looked at Levi Sier with grievance. Levi Sier threw my luggage outside. "It's just a pregnancy. Don't be so delicate." I picked up my luggage and silently turned to leave. Getting off the train, Levi Sier thought I was crouching in some corner of the train, sleeping comfortably, but when the train reached its destination, he searched the entire carriage and couldn't find me, seeing me frozen in place. Levi Sier impatiently threw the luggage I had just carefully placed back onto the ground. "Stop making a fuss. Lin WN, it's just 10 hours of standing, it's not that long. Can't you even handle that little hardship?" I stared at him in disbelief, pointing at my swollen belly. "Don't you realize I'm still pregnant? With the spring festival crowds, you expect me to stand for 10 hours? Levi Sier frowned slightly. "It's just a pregnancy. Don't be so dramatic. How about this, while there are still empty seats, just grab one wherever you can. When other passengers arrive, tell them you couldn't get a seat reservation and ask them to give up their spot. They'll probably agree since you're pregnant." I was even more stunned after hearing this. Was he suggesting I emotionally blackmail others? Giving up seats for pregnant women on subways and buses is one thing, but on high-speed trains where everyone has paid hundreds for their tickets, especially during the spring festival when tickets are already hard to come by, who would be willing? I immediately refused. "No way, I can't afford to lose face like that." Seeing my refusal, Levi Sier grew even more impatient. "You're about to be a mother and still so concerned about your pride. Fine, then just stand." I pointed at Juno Song. "Why, was it me who snatched the tickets? Why doesn't she have to stand?" Juno Song gave Levi Sier a pitiful glance and hid behind him. Levi Sier immediately shielded Juno Song behind him. "All right, Lin WN, stop making a scene. You did grab this ticket, but I paid for it. I can give it to whoever I want." I froze. It was true that Levi Sier had paid for the train ticket because I had no money. Ever since marrying him, I had given up my career at his persuasion, becoming a full-time housewife dedicated solely to taking care of him. Seeing my silence, Levi Sier sighed and softened his tone. "Juno Song is a dance student. Standing for too long isn't good for her legs. She worked so hard to get into Beijing Dance Academy. You wouldn't want anything to happen to her legs, would you?" I clutched the suitcase tightly, my eyes red-rimmed. "If you feel sorry for her, why don't you switch with her?" Levi Sier's face darkened instantly as he pointed to his leg. "You know full well my leg is injured, how could I switch?" I looked at Levi Sier's bandaged leg, the result of a fight he got into while trying to chase off the bullies harassing Juno Song. But one man couldn't take on a crowd, and in the end, he was struck by a baseball bat, injuring his leg. I, heavily pregnant, rushed around the hospital taking care of him for a whole month. Juno Song bit her lip, looking on the verge of tears. "Brother Sier, please don't argue with my sister anymore. It's all my fault for being too slow to get a sleeper berth. I'll just go stand outside by myself." As Juno Song spoke, she turned to leave but was abruptly pulled back by Levi Sier. "Don't go." Levi Sier's expression was frantic. With so many people traveling during the spring festival, what if you get bullied again out there? What about my sister? Juno Song looked at me with concern. Levi Sier seemed to have lost all patience. Raising his voice, he shouted at me, "Lin WN, can you be a little more sensible?" I didn't understand. These were tickets I had worked so hard to get. And I was pregnant. Who was the one being unreasonable here? "How about this, sister?" Juno Song suddenly suggested. "Why don't we take turns? There are 10 stops on the way back to brother his place. You take the sleeper for one stop, and I'll take it for the next. How does that sound?" Levi Sier was a bit dissatisfied, but this was the best solution. He asked, "How about it? Juno has already compromised, so you should stop making a fuss too." I didn't want to go home for the new year with emotions running high, and just getting into the station had nearly exhausted all my strength, so I could only nod silently. I was just about to ask who would stand first when Levi Sier pushed me out. You go first this stop. Your luggage is already taken down, and it would be inconvenient to put it back up again. Carrying my luggage, I walked outside alone. By then, the seats in the sleeper car's corridor were already full. Everyone was exhausted from the long journey, and I didn't want to use my pregnancy as a moral burden, so I found a corner and carefully sat on my suitcase, protecting my belly. The train during the Spring Festival was extremely crowded. With many people who had only managed to get standing room tickets, the train was filled with a mix of odorous instant noodles, sweat, and the stench of feet, covering my nose. I couldn't help but retch repeatedly. I sat in the corner, right in front of a young couple. They still seemed to be in the honeymoon phase. The guy even paid extra to switch seats with another passenger just to sit next to his girlfriend, holding hands and leaning against each other. Their sweetness was indescribable. Reminding me of the days when Levi Sierra and I were together. Levi Sierra and I were high school classmates. Over those 3 years, a vague affection developed between us. After the college entrance exams, Levi Sierra confessed to me, and I said yes. But our joy didn't last long. We soon found out we'd be attending universities far apart, separated by thousands of miles. I can't handle long-distance relationships because all my friends in such relationships never last long. No matter how sweet the beginning is, the endings are always cheating and cold breakups. I felt the same would happen between me and Levi Sierra, so I proposed breaking up with him. But Levi Sierra absolutely refused to agree. He promised me that even in a long-distance relationship, he would persevere until the end. I didn't believe him and resolutely deleted all his contact information. But a week after school started, I unexpectedly saw Levi Sierra at school, who should have been thousands of miles away from me. It was the middle of winter, yet he was only wearing a thin black jacket. His fair cheeks were slightly red from the cold, and his dark eyebrows and eyelashes still had unmelted snowflakes on them. I froze in place, unable to believe he could be here. Levi Sierra ran up and hugged me tightly, his voice trembling. "I'm sorry, Owen. The start of the semester was too busy, and I only just found time to come see you now." My voice was hoarse. "Why are you here?" He smiled, his dark pupils sparkling. "Didn't I say it before? Even long distance can't keep us apart." Levi Sierra held my hand firmly, his tone resolute. "Owen, I promise you, even if it's long distance, I'll endure it. We can video call every day, and I'll take the high-speed train to see you every month." I didn't speak. Quietly slipping my hand into his pocket and swiftly taking out what was inside, Levi Sierra's expression changed when he saw the train ticket in my hand, and he tried to snatch it, but the moment I read the words on it, my eyes instantly welled up with tears. Trembling, I asked, "A 10-hour standing ticket, are you really okay with that?" Levi Sierra forced a smile. "It's just 10 hours, right? Think of it as exercise. Besides, all I do at school is eat and sleep. I could use the workout." I wasn't listening. I rushed forward and hugged him tightly. Levi Sierra paused, then patted my head. "What's wrong, Owen?" Tears streamed down uncontrollably as I choked out, "Levi Sierra, you're really annoying. I was about to give up on this relationship." Hearing this, Levi Sierra's voice brimmed with barely contained joy and excitement as he grabbed my shoulders and asked, "So Owen, does this mean you're agreeing not to break up?" I nodded, then after a moment's thought added, "Here's what we'll do from now on. We'll take turns visiting each other every month. This month it's your turn, next month it's mine." "No," Levi Sierra firmly refused. "How could I bear to let you stand for 10 hours? Next station arriving shortly." The train's announcement interrupted my memories. I looked up. The next stop was coming soon. I smiled bitterly. The young man who once couldn't bear me sitting on a high-speed train for 10 hours, how could he now make his heavily pregnant wife stand for 10? I supported my sore and weak waist, struggling to stand up from the suitcase, and walked toward the direction of the sleeper berth. But as I reached the door of the sleeper berth and was about to push it open, I heard passionate and lingering sounds from inside. Brother Sierra, my face turned pale. And I abruptly looked inside through the train window. Juno Song somehow ended up on Levi Sierra's bed, wrapping her arms around his neck and pressing her lips to his. Levi Sierra didn't respond, but he didn't refuse either, letting Juno Song continue her actions, until he could no longer hold back. gripping her waist and pinning her to the bed, passionately returning her kiss. Juno Song, who had been lost in the moment with her eyes closed, suddenly opened them and looked at me. Her gaze full of defiance. My stomach churned violently, and I rushed into the restroom, clutching my chest as I vomited intensely. After leaving the restroom, I watched the passengers boarding and disembarking in small groups. Feeling utterly lost, I desperately wanted to leave, but I had no idea where to go. The world is so vast, yet it seems there's no place left for me. Just then, my phone rang. I opened it and saw a WeChat message from my mom. "Sweetie, are you coming home for New Year's? Your dad and I miss you so much. We've bought all your favorite dishes and are just waiting for you to come home for the holidays." Reading this, the emotions I had barely managed to calm instantly overwhelmed me again. My eyes welled up with tears, and I bit my lower lip hard to keep myself from sobbing aloud. I typed a reply. "Mom, wait for me. I'm coming home for New Year's this year." I went to the bathroom to wash my face, pretending nothing had happened, and then returned to the sleeper car. As soon as he saw me, Levi Sier guiltily averted his gaze, then feigned composure and scolded me. "Juno said she'd take turns with you, and you actually took it seriously. I don't know how pregnancy has made you so delicate. Back in college, no matter how much I tried to persuade you, you wouldn't listen and insisted on standing for 10 hours on a high-speed train just to see me. Now you suddenly can't stand anymore." I sat silently on the bed. Ignoring the remark, Juno Song stood up. "Brother Sier, don't be like this. Wonwan is pregnant. It's my turn now. I'll go stand outside." Seeing Juno Song about to leave, Levi Sier quickly grabbed her. "Don't go. Are you stupid? This sleeper berth is big enough for two. Why can't you both just sit here together?" I found it ridiculous when I heard it. He knew perfectly well that two people could sit on the sleeper, yet he insisted on forcing me to stand outside. Remembering the scene I had just witnessed outside the carriage, my stomach churned again. Covering my mouth, I retched uncontrollably, nearly vomiting from the nausea. Seeing this, Levi Sier panicked. He quickly stood up and patted my back. "Evan, are you okay?" Juno Song chimed in with concern. "Sister Wonwan, when I visited you at home, your morning sickness wasn't this severe. Why did it start acting up as soon as you got on the train? Are you uncomfortable sitting? Maybe I should go stand outside instead." Hearing this, the panic in Levi Sier's expression instantly turned to disgust. His eyes filled with impatience. "Lin WN, haven't you caused enough trouble? After standing for just an hour, you're already putting on this weak act. All you want is for Juno to stand outside, don't you? How did I never realize how scheming you were before? Juno and I grew up together. Even though we're not related by blood, I've always treated her like a real sister. It's only right that I take care of her outside. Can't you be a little more understanding?" I bit my lower lip hard to suppress the discomfort in my stomach. I don't understand why the person who once loved me so deeply, who would travel thousands of miles every month just to see me, has now become like this. I don't want to respond, afraid that I might break down and cry like a fool. "I'll go get some hot water first." I didn't want to listen to Levi Sier's accusations anymore. And I was afraid of breaking down and making a scene in front of so many people. I grabbed my cup and hurried away. I went to the water room to get hot water. The rising steam made my eyes turn red. Holding the cup filled with hot water, I was about to leave after screwing on the lid when I was suddenly bumped into hard as I turned around. The poorly tightened water bottle cap fell to the ground, and the scalding hot water inside splashed all over me. I let out a painful scream as my left hand instantly turned red and swollen from the burn. When I looked up, the person who bumped into me was none other than Juno Song. Juno Song covered her mouth in feigned surprise, saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Wonwan, I didn't notice. Are you burned?" Biting my lip, my face pale from the pain, I ignored her insincere apology and headed to the bathroom to rinse off the burn, but Juno Song tightly grasped my scalded hand. Her smile sweet yet her eyes venomous. "Where are you going, sister? Let me help you. Let me go." I struggled with all my might, but couldn't break free. Juno Song appeared delicate, but years of dance training had given her lean, toned arms, while I, exhausted from the day and weakened by pregnancy, was no match for her. Juno Song's freshly manicured nails dug deep into my burned skin as she whispered in my ear, "You saw what happened between me and Brother Xie in the carriage just now. Didn't you? I did it on purpose. If you know what's good for you, get rid of that baby and divorce Brother Xie soon. Stop clinging to him shamelessly." She took a step back, resuming that innocent and harmless demeanor. "Come on, sis Wanwan, I'll take you to treat your wound." I couldn't take it anymore and abruptly shook her off. "Get away from me, don't touch me." To my surprise, Juno Song, who had been so strong just moments ago, lost her balance and fell hard to the ground. I froze, instinctively wanting to help Juno Song up, when a cold voice suddenly rang out, "Lin Wn, what are you doing?" I looked up to see Levi Xie standing at the water room door with a gloomy expression. I wanted to explain, but Levi Xie wouldn't listen. He quickly helped Juno Song up, his eyes filled with concern. "Juno, are you okay?" Tears welled up in Juno Song's eyes as she shook her head gently. "I'm fine, Brother Xie." Levi Xie glared up at me angrily. "Lin Wn, what are you doing?" I pointed at my scalded, reddened arm. She was the one who burned me with boiling water first, and then deliberately pinched my wound to stop me from leaving. "Enough, Lin Wn." Levi Xie interrupted me impatiently. "After you left, Juno was worried about you, a pregnant woman, having difficulty moving around, and the water room was crowded, so she went to check on you. You've been upset about the seating arrangement, and now you're deliberately scalding your arm to frame Juno. How can you be so disgusting? Stop it, Brother Xie." Juno Song's eyes were red, and she pitifully lowered her gaze. "It really was my carelessness that caused Sister to spill the hot water on me." "Juno, don't defend her." Levi Xie looked at me with disgust. "Let me take you back to the carriage first. Change your clothes, look, they're all wet, don't catch a cold." Levi Xie supported Juno Song as they turned to leave. Juno Song glanced back at me with a provocative look. Even though I had long known the truth that Levi Xie no longer loved me, my heart still ached as if it were being sliced by a knife. The originally red and swollen skin had already festered because of Juno Song. Enduring the excruciating pain, I went to the bathroom to cool it with cold water. As I stepped out of the bathroom, I happened to bump into the flight attendant. Looking at the wounds on my arm, she asked with concern, "How did you get hurt? Please wait a moment. I'll have someone come to treat your wounds right away." Before long, the attendant returned with the train's medical staff. While bandaging me, the medical staff asked, "Looking at your belly, you must be about 5 or 6 months pregnant. Where's your husband? How could he let a pregnant woman be here alone?" My nose stung as I replied, "I don't have a husband anymore." The medical staff seemed to want to ask more, but seeing how distressed I was, they held back. After a simple bandaging, the medical staff said to me, "Your injury is quite severe. If not treated immediately, it could get infected and cause a high fever. How many more stops do you have? If it's too long, you should get off and find a hospital to get properly bandaged." I looked at the display screen on the train and smiled at the medical staff. "I'll get off at the next stop." I glanced at my phone, still half an hour until the next station. But I still had some luggage in the sleeper car that I needed to retrieve first. When I returned to the sleeper compartment, Levi Xie was comforting a tearful Juno Song. When he saw me, Levi Xie angrily scolded, "Lin Wn, look at the mess you've made." Expressionless, I carefully bent down, supporting my stomach, to retrieve the luggage from under the bed. Seeing no reaction from me, Levi Xie grew furious and grabbed my freshly bandaged hand. "Lin Wn, what kind of attitude is this?" he demanded. Cold sweat beaded on my forehead as I endured the pain and asked icily, "What kind of attitude do you think I should have?" Levi Xie pointed at Juno Song and enunciated each word clearly. "Apologized to Juno." I scoffed and forcefully shook off his hand. "Fine." I walked up to Juno Song, who looked at me with teary, pitiful eyes. "Wanwanjia, actually, you don't have to." Slap. Juno Song didn't get to finish her remaining tea-fueled nonsense before I harshly interrupted her with a slap. A crisp slapping sound rang out as Juno Song covered her swollen, reddened cheek, staring at me in disbelief. I sneered coldly and used my uninjured hand to deliver another fierce slap across Juno Song's other cheek. Just as I was about to strike a third time, Levi Sier tightly grabbed my wrist and forcefully shoved me backward. I slammed heavily into the wall, and everything went black before my eyes. I clutched my stomach, feeling only a sharp, twisting pain in my abdomen that nearly brought me to my knees. Levi Sier was completely enraged. He turned around and yelled at me, "Lin WN, have you lost your mind?" Juno Song glared at me viciously, a stark contrast to her pitiful demeanor from moments ago. I let out a mocking laugh, clutching my stomach as I slowly stood up, unsure whether my hand, my stomach, or my heart hurt more at that moment. Just then, the sound of the train approaching the station came from outside. I didn't want to waste any more words on these two scumbags, so I grabbed my luggage and prepared to leave. Levi Sier rushed forward and grabbed me. "Stop, where do you think you're going?" Apologized to Juno. I gave a faint smile, then slapped him hard across the face once more, under his disbelieving gaze. I shook off his hand and walked out of the sleeper car. I pushed through the crowd and got off the train. Just then, a message popped up on my phone. It was a video sent by Juno Song. I tapped to open it. It was secretly recorded by Levi Sier when he took Juno Song back to change clothes earlier. In the video, Levi Sier had initially turned his back, but Juno Song suddenly said, "Brother Sier, I can't fasten my bra, can you help me?" Levi Sier blushed and replied, "It's not appropriate for me, let your sister-in-law help you instead." Juno Song's voice sounded aggrieved as she said, "Brother Sier, have you forgotten how Wanwan treated me just now?" Levi Sier hesitated, then stood up and fastened her bra for her. I expressionlessly turned off my phone, pulled my suitcase, and walked against the crowd to get off the train. As I was about to leave, the train roared to life and started moving, the curtains fluttered, and through the window, I saw Juno Song nestled in Levi Sier's arms. I don't know if it was my imagination, but at that moment, I seemed to see Levi Sier's eyes widen suddenly as he frantically pushed Juno Song to the ground. But that had nothing to do with me anymore. I got into the taxi and said calmly, "Driver, we can go now." Levi Sier stared blankly at the scenery rushing past outside the car window. Juno Song held her sore arm and pouted in complaint. "Brother Sier, what happened to you just now?" Levi Sier's voice was strained. "I just thought I saw Lin WN outside the car. How did she get out?" A glint of triumph flashed in Juno Song's eyes as she took Levi Sier's hand and comforted him. "Brother Sier, you must have seen wrong. Where could your wife possibly go while she's still pregnant? Besides, she's just a housewife who always asks you for money. Without any funds, where could she go? She'd only end up homeless." Levi Sier's initial tension gradually eased under Juno Song's reassurance. He kept telling himself, "You're right, it must have been a mistake. Lin WN is just a housewife with no money and pregnant. Where could she possibly go without me? Alright, Brother Sier, let's rest for now." Juno Song led him to the bed and sat him down. "There are still 7 hours until the final stop." Levi Sier nodded, lay back on the bed, and fell asleep again. The car pulled up to the gold shop, and I walked in, taking off the pure gold necklace from my neck and handing it to the clerk. "Hello. Could you tell me how much this necklace is worth?" Levi Sier is right, I have no money, just a little pocket change. Apart from this gold necklace Levi Sier gave me when we got married, I don't have anything of value on me. I once thought that no matter how difficult things got, I would never sell this gold necklace. But now, I lower my gaze as the shop assistant slowly melts the chain, calculating its worth. The assistant taps on the calculator, then looks up with a smile. "Hello, The total weight of this gold chain is 5.2 grams, based on the current gold price. You can sell it for 3,678 yuan. I nod, "That's fine," looking at the 3,678 yuan in my card. I smiled bitterly. This was the first time since marrying Levi Sier that I had so much money that truly belonged to me. After quitting my job to become a housewife, Levi Sier would give me 5,000 yuan every month as household expenses, but after deducting utilities and daily necessities, plus the clothes I had to buy for Levi Sier to wear to work each month, there was hardly any balance left. Yet even so, Levi Sier would always blame me for spending recklessly. I took a deep breath, first went to a clothing store to buy myself a decent outfit, then bought some gifts for my parents. It was too late to buy train tickets now, So I directly purchased a plane ticket. It was expensive, twice the price of a high-speed rail ticket, something I would have hesitated to spend on before, but now, looking at the successful booking confirmation on my phone, I resolutely headed to the airport. The moment I boarded the plane, I turned off my phone and silently made plans in my heart. Once the New Year celebrations are over, I can file for divorce from Levi Sear. By the time the plane landed, my parents had already been waiting at the airport for a long time. Counting the days, it's been 5 years since we last saw each other. Every time before the New Year, I would express my wish to go home for the holiday, but each time I was impatiently interrupted by Levi Sear. A grown man like me going with you to celebrate the New Year at your parents' house? That's just asking to be laughed at. Now that you're my wife, stop thinking about running back to your parents' place all the time. Sweetheart, you're finally back. How did you get so thin? My mother's voice trembled as she held back tears, carefully embracing me in her arms. My father's eyes also reddened as he patted my shoulder and said, "It's good to have you back." I bit my lower lip hard to keep myself from crying out loud. When I married Levi Sear, my parents were completely against it. My mother earnestly told me, "Sweetheart, marrying far away is like a high-stakes gamble. Xiao Sear lives over 2,000 kilometers from us. What if you ever feel wronged?" At that time, I was blinded by love and insisted on marrying Levi Sear no matter what. "No, Mom." Levi Sear and I endured 4 years of long-distance relationship in college. He swore to me that he would never let me suffer in this lifetime. "Please, Mom and Dad, just let us be together. Besides, transportation is so convenient now. If I want to come back, it's just a matter of buying a plane ticket." With teary eyes, I noticed their once jet-black hair had turned much grayer, and I realized they were no longer young. I am the only child in my family, and I have been doted on by them since I was little. But ever since I married far away, they couldn't eat or sleep well, worrying about me day and night, afraid that I might suffer there. Fortunately, it's not too late, and I have returned to their side. After arriving home, as soon as I put down my luggage, my mother took out her phone and said to me, "Sweetie, is this person in the news our little Sear? Why is he causing trouble on the train?" Frowning, I took my mom's phone. Even though the eyes were pixelated, I recognized him immediately. It was Levi Sear. In the video, Levi Sear seemed to have lost his mind, screaming hysterically at the flight attendant, "Where's my wife? Where did you take her? Why can't I find her anywhere on this train? Who took her? Please, give her back to me. She's pregnant." By the end of the roar, Levi Sear couldn't hold back his sobs anymore. Calculating the time, Levi Sear should indeed have arrived at the station by now. I continued watching. Levi Sear had been taken to a nearby police station by officers for causing a disturbance on the train. Though the video was somewhat blurry, I could still see Juno Song anxiously trying to intervene. She kept trying to calm Levi Sear down. "Brother Sear, please calm down. Sister Wanwan will be fine." I smiled sarcastically and handed the phone back to my mom. "It's Levi Sear." My mom panicked instantly. "What's going on, sweetheart? Didn't you and Xiao Sear go back to your own homes this time? Why is he making a scene on the train looking for you?" I originally wanted to keep it from my mom to spare her worry, but truth will out. Since I've decided to divorce, it's better to come clean about everything. After calming down, I told my parents the whole story. They were both angry and heartbroken upon hearing it. My mom, with reddened eyes, scolded me, "You silly child. Why didn't you speak up sooner after suffering such injustice?" My dad comforted her, saying, "She was just afraid you'd worry." I smiled and said, "It's okay, Mom, it's all in the past now. After the New Year, I'll divorce Levi Sear." I turned on my phone, and it instantly vibrated like crazy, nearly freezing from the overload. The screen was flooded with messages from Levi Sear. With over 99 missed calls alone, I let out a bitter laugh, feeling a mix of emotions. The number of calls Levi Sear made to me today surpassed all the calls he had made to me in the past 5 years combined. As soon as I turned on my phone, Levi Sear's call came through immediately. Seems like he had been calling non-stop. I answered the call, and Levi Sear's anxious voice came through. "Wanwan, you finally picked up. Where have you been? The high-speed rail staff said you got off at the second stop. Where did you go?" I said calmly. I went home. Home? Levi Xie sounded puzzled. Why did you suddenly go home? There's no one there now. Didn't we agree to stay at my parents' place until early February before going back? I smiled mockingly. Levi Xie, you misunderstood. When I said home, I didn't mean your place. I meant my home, Jiang City. The other end of the line suddenly fell into a deathly silence. Just as I grew impatient and was about to hang up, Levi Xie spoke. His voice was hoarse. Why? I scoffed. What do you think? It's about the sleeper berth, isn't it? I admit I didn't handle it well. At the time, I just thought Juno Song was a young girl who couldn't stand for so long. So I asked you to give it to her. But Wanwan, these are just trivial matters. Besides, you already hit Juno Song, didn't you? The slap mark on her face still hasn't faded. How could you just leave without a word? Seeing no response from me, Levi Xie continued. Wanwan, did you really go home? Are you lying to me? You don't have any money. How did you get back? I smiled faintly and sent the gold shop receipt to Levi Xie, because I sold the gold chain you gave me. The next second, Levi Xie's voice came through, filled with disbelief. You actually sold the token of love I gave you just to go home. Lin Wn, how could you do this? I don't want to watch Levi Xie act anymore. Let's be direct. I saw everything between you and Juno Song in the train compartment. Levi Xie suddenly fell silent. When you pinned Juno Song on the bed and kissed her passionately, did you ever think about me, your pregnant wife, standing outside? Did you notice the burns on my hands when you helped Juno Song slander and accuse me? Levi Xie, you're still pretending even now. It's truly disgusting. Levi Xie's voice was strained. Wanwan. It's not what you think. This is just a misunderstanding. Let me explain. What's left to explain? I said coldly. Juno Song is just a woman. If you wanted to keep your distance from her, it wasn't impossible. Yet you still indulged her behavior. You say you only see her as a sister. But you've done everything except sleep with her. How do you explain all this? Levi Xie said in a flustered tone. Wanwan, I know you're very angry right now, but please give me a chance, okay? Come back first. If there's any misunderstanding, let's talk it out face to face. No need, I said coldly. After the new year, I'll come to see you, and we'll get our divorce certificate then. Levi Xie was incredulous. You want a divorce from me? Otherwise, keep you around to suffer more. After saying that, I hung up the phone and blocked Levi Xie. After hanging up, my mother asked worriedly, Sweetheart, are you sure you want to abort the baby? It's already 6 months. Seeing the worry and heartache in my mother's eyes, years of pent-up grievances poured out in an instant. Tears streamed down my face as I gently touched my belly and nodded solemnly. I'm sure, I never want to have any connection with Levi Xie again. Unable to persuade me otherwise, my parents carefully selected and arranged for me to go to the best hospital in the city. When signing the waiver, the doctor asked, Are you sure you want to terminate the pregnancy? The fetus is already fully formed. I lowered my gaze, my voice firm. I'm sure. 2 hours later, I touched my flat abdomen, feeling nothing but relief. After being discharged, my mother took great care of me, preparing all kinds of dishes I loved in every possible way. My body, weakened by the induced labor, gradually recovered under my mother's care. During these days, I wasn't idle either. I hired a lawyer to draft the divorce agreement, but a week after returning to Jiang City, I unexpectedly ran into Levi Xie downstairs. At that moment, I had just come back from shopping with friends. It had been a long time since I last saw Levi Xie, and he had changed so much that I didn't even recognize him at first glance. His cheeks were gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes, and his gaze was filled with crimson streaks of exhaustion. I had never seen Levi Xie like this before. From his student days to his professional career, he had always been spirited and polished. Never as disheartened as he was now. When he saw me, his hollow eyes lit up, and he rushed toward me before pulling me into a tight embrace. Wanwan, I've finally found you. I've missed you so much. He clung to me like a drowning man grasping a floating log, his grip so tight it seemed he wanted to meld me into his very bones. I pushed him away forcefully, my voice filled with disgust. Don't touch me. Seeing the revulsion in my eyes, Levi Xie panicked, flustered, and at a loss. He wanted to say something more but suddenly froze, staring at my stomach in disbelief. Owen, where is our child? I looked at my flat abdomen and sneered. Got rid of it. Levi Sier's face instantly turned deathly pale. He grabbed my shoulders, his eyes bloodshot as he roared at me. I don't believe it. You're lying to me, aren't you? I gave a mocking smile. Whether I'm lying or not, you know the truth in your heart. Levi Sier's body swayed unsteadily. Why, Owen? Do you hate me so much that you'd even abandon our child? I let out a mocking laugh. Levi Sier, back then I defied the objections of my parents and friends to marry you without hesitation, because I believed you wouldn't let me down. Unfortunately, you disappointed me. In that case, I want neither you nor the child anymore. With that, I handed him the divorce agreement I always carried in my bag. Sign this divorce agreement, and from now on, let's part on good terms. Levi Sier didn't take it and returned home in despair. When his parents found out that I not only wanted a divorce but had also terminated the pregnancy, they angrily blasted me in the family group chat. They hadn't bothered me before because I had blocked all their contact information. But I never left the family group chat. Lynn WN, you're being too impulsive. I know what happened, it's just that Juno couldn't stand for so long and wanted to switch bunks with you. Why are you being so petty? As the elder, you should be more accommodating. You're a mother yourself. Exactly, over such a trivial matter, you ran off without a word and even got our Levi sent to the police station. I don't know how your parents raised you, making such a fuss over trivial matters and running back to your parents' home. Even hitting the child, my poor grandchild who's already 5 months old. My parents were so furious they immediately wanted to retort, but I stopped them and posted the secretly recorded video from the train and the one Juno song sent me into the group chat. The relatives who had been blaming me fell into a deathly silence. Levi Sier's parents even directly left the group chat. Soon after, Juno song sent me a private message cursing me. You bitch, what do you mean by this? Playing the victim. Why didn't you bleed to death when you had that abortion back then? Delete the video in the group chat now, or else you'll regret it. I blocked her and then posted her recent messages in the group chat. At this moment, the group chat was filled with people cursing Juno song, calling her shameless for seducing someone else's husband. Levi Sier wasn't spared either, being called a rotten cucumber who couldn't tell right from wrong, siding with the mistress to bully his pregnant wife. I finally felt relieved. But then my phone buzzed with another text from an unknown number. I'm sorry, I was wrong about what happened on the train that day. I had no idea Juno song was that kind of person. I could only laugh bitterly. What's the point of explaining so much now that everything has already happened? I typed my reply. Stop with the useless talk. If you really feel sorry for me, just sign the divorce papers. You know I've already had the abortion. There's no chance for us anymore. After a long while. Levi Sier replied, okay. The 1-month cooling off period for divorce passed quickly, and Levi Sier and I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to finalize our divorce. Looking at that bright red divorce certificate, Levi Sier suddenly burst into tears. Wanwan, can we really never go back to how we were before? I truly know I was wrong. Just as I was about to say something, a coat was draped over my shoulders. Lin Jie, it's just the beginning of spring, and the weather is still cold. Make sure to keep warm. Levi Sier pointed in disbelief at the stylish young man behind me. Lin WN, who is he? I was about to respond when the guy said with a grin, I'm Sister Lin's admirer. Since you're divorced now, stop bothering her. I smiled without explaining and left with him. This was my new colleague at the company I had just joined, named Shu Ju. He was very young, having just graduated from university. He was handsome, dressed fashionably, had a sweet tongue, and was very likable. But now, I don't want to start another relationship. Shu Ju sensed my thoughts and comforted me. Sister Lin, don't worry, I won't pressure you. I'll help you get through this shadow, no matter how long it takes. I gave a faint smile and walked forward without responding. Now, let's move on to the second story. The cold-faced CEO Nico Liu has been my sugar daddy for 7 years, calling me cheap for 7 years. He says he loves me, yet forces me time and again, making me beg for mercy in unbearable pain on the bed. He even released those humiliating videos publicly, just to appease his jealous fiancée. He said as long as I behave, I could be the only one by his side, but I've made enough money. I ran away, years later. When he tore up my terminal illness report and violently pinned me to the bed again, my soul felt heavy yet hollow, floating in the air with nowhere to land. It's the last time, Nico Lou. Kira, you should have quit long ago. Such a pretty girl working as a cashier, you should be a big star. Today is my last day working at the supermarket. The aunties who heard about my resignation were even happier than I was, even taking out notebooks and pens to ask for my autograph. I just smiled and took them one by one. I simply pulled my hat down lower again, afraid that my wig might accidentally fall off. The hospital report this morning said my leukemia had turned acute, and I probably don't have much time left. What are you doing? What are you doing? The supervisor raised his voice and stopped us. Headquarters is sending someone for inspection today. What kind of spectacle is this? Making such a racket. She shot me a fierce glare. Don't think you're something special just because you're about to leave. There's still one more day of work. Do you still want your salary or not? I quickly bent over to apologize. At the same time, a group of bowing and scraping people filed in. Surrounding a man in a well-tailored suit, I instinctively looked up but froze in place. The young master of the Lou Group, also my former patron. How could it be Nico Lou? The fear I had suppressed for so long surged up again, leaving me almost paralyzed on the spot. My heart pounding so violently it felt like it might burst the next second. Before I could avoid it, our eyes met, and I quickly pulled my mask higher. Lu Jiu merely glanced at me indifferently before looking away. His gaze finally settled on the alluring female secretary beside him, whispering something gently into her ear. He didn't recognize me. I breathed a sigh of relief, yet my heart felt hollow, unsure whether it was relief or sorrow. Don't get entangled with a madman anymore, I warned myself. Then they rushed into the warehouse as if fleeing for their lives, and only when the door was closed did they finally feel completely at ease. But just as I struggled to reach the cardboard box on the top shelf, a slender hand suddenly reached out from behind and pressed against the box. Before I could react, I tumbled into a scorching, rigid embrace. You're quite the runner, little kitten. Nico Lou, who had entered unnoticed, scoffed lightly in my ear. Don't recognize your master anymore. My hair stood on end instantly. As if I had plunged back into that old nightmare in a split second. Many had once envied me, saying Nico Lou was wealthy, tall, handsome, and gentle in every way, that I had struck gold. But they didn't know the other side of Nico Lou in bed, violent, ferocious, like a beast intent on torturing someone to death. Even now, the mere memory of that pain makes me tremble uncontrollably. My voice went hoarse. Mr. Lou, Nico Lou loved it when I begged for mercy like a kitten, and he was pleased now, happily nuzzling the back of my neck. You've been ignoring me for so long, kitten. Just because my fiancé sent you one video, didn't I pay you 10 times your usual fee that month? You actually deleted me, checked out, and went missing, and then you became a cashier at a supermarket so close to me, playing hard to get. Nico Lou's voice was slow, but the anger hidden within was unmistakable. He's waiting for me to explain. I tightened my fingers around the cuff of my sleeve. Humiliating memories flooding my mind. If it weren't for Mom insisting on giving birth to my younger brother at an advanced age, dying from difficult labor, and Dad getting so agitated he had a stroke and ended up in the ICU, relying on a sky-high medication costing $40,000 per shot just to stay alive each day, I wouldn't have had to tangle with Nico Lou for money for so long. It should be said that I've been enduring Nico Lou's torment with humility for so long. Even now, I still don't dare to resist him. The longer I remain silent, the more displeased Nico Lou becomes. What? Don't need money anymore. No need to put on a nice face for me. I do. I've always been lacking. I forced a smile. Nico Lou has indeed always seen me this way, convinced that I'm a gold digger. It's just a pity that no matter how much of a gold digger I am, with my now broken body, how could I possibly endure his torment again? I shook my head slightly. Mr. Lou, I'm sorry, but I can't take on your business anymore. Nico Lou's expression instantly turned icy, his handsome brows furrowing tightly as he spat out just 3 words, WHY, because I'm sick, I'm dying. As soon as the words left my mouth, The nausea from the medication's side effects surged up. I urgently pushed him away, unable to control the vomiting that followed. The foul-smelling vomit splattered onto Nico Lu's pants. Nico Lu is a neat freak, with rationality at its peak. I ignored the filth and immediately knelt in the mess, trembling hands pulling a handkerchief from my pocket as I leaned down to wipe it. "I'm sorry, Mr. Lu." Nico Lu took a step back, disdainfully lifting my chin with the tip of his leather shoe. "Kira Liang, do I disgust you that much? Faking illness to deceive me, even if it's a deception. I'd rather it was heaven deceiving me." Meeting his beautiful yet anger-filled eyes, I smiled bitterly and said, "Yes, don't you understand yet? I hate you." Nico Lu left. Before leaving, he deliberately let go, and the cardboard box filled with laundry detergent toppled over, hitting me hard on the head before crashing into the vomit. The loud noise brought the supervisor over. Seeing the mess on the floor, she put her hands on her hips and scolded me mercilessly. Without hesitation, she docked my entire month's wages, $2,000, not a huge amount, but without it, I can't afford my meds, and I might die even sooner. I didn't argue. Even though I knew I didn't owe nearly that much, Nico Lu was just messing with me. If I dared to fight back, what awaited me would only be even more brutal. Whatever, forget it. I mentally talked myself down, offering repeated apologies before rubbing my sore shoulder and heading to the bathroom. As soon as I lifted my face, I noticed a large bruise where Nico Lu's leather shoe had pressed against me, spreading all the way to my chin. It looked like a birthmark, hideously ugly. I lowered my eyes just as my phone started vibrating violently. The moment I answered, "Dr." Yi Qing's exasperated voice came through, full of disappointment. "Kira Liang, you ran out of the hospital again as soon as I took a break. Your clotting factor is only a fraction now. Even a tiny cut could kill you at this point." I raised my wrist to my eyes and, as if possessed, pressed my nail against the skin as pale as a sheet of paper. The pulse beneath was so faint it was almost undetectable. Just a small cut could take my life. I wanted to test it, so I pressed harder with my finger, as if it could pierce a bloody hole any second. "Come back, okay." Yi Qing began to patiently persuade me. Helplessly, I snapped out of my thoughts and whispered, "Dr. Yi, I can't afford the treatment anymore. I won't be coming back." Yi Qing fell silent for a moment, then sighed. "I told you, Kira, don't worry about the money. Promise me you'll return to the hospital by the day after tomorrow at the latest." By the end, Yi's words even carried a tone of pleading. I, who had been determined never to return to the hospital, felt a slight softening in my heart. After hesitating for a long time, I finally replied, "All right." Yet, I, who have been ordered around all my life, crave nothing more than the gentleness of others. But this body of mine is merely clinging to life. Why waste the effort? "What do you mean, all right?" A cold voice sounded from behind. Startled, I turned around and instinctively hung up the phone. It was Nico Lu again. Nico Lu, not known for his patience, grabbed me by the throat and demanded with a dark expression, "I thought you quit the business. Why are you playing doctor-patient games with someone else?" He noticed the bruise on my chin turning from blue to purple. "You still bruise so easily. What about that person? Does he also enjoy seeing you covered in scars?" "It's not that I enjoy it, I've been sick since back then. There's no helping it." On second thought, there's no need to explain so much to him. After all, Nico Lu would never believe me anyway. My silence annoyed him. Nico Lu's fingers tightened one by one, almost squeezing out the little air left in my chest. His displeasure grew more intense. "Why aren't you saying anything?" I could barely breathe, yet my heart had never felt so lifeless before. Dying like this doesn't seem so bad. Gradually, I stopped struggling, letting my hands fall limply by my sides, simply watching Nico Lu with a calm gaze. A flicker of surprise flashed in Nico Lu's eyes, and in that brief moment of distraction, he loosened his grip. "A dirty cat is no fun. I forgot, so many people have seen you in that pathetic state. How boring." Seen by others, I fell to the ground abruptly, those light words hitting my heart like a hammer. A deafening roar filled my ears, drowning out all sound. Tears surged uncontrollably from the depths of my agonized chest, and hatred nearly stripped me of all reason. The first time I spoke to Nico Lu like this, It's because of you that I've become dirty. Nico Lu raised an eyebrow, as if hearing a joke. When you were greedy for money, why didn't you feel dirty then? Playing both sides, he let out a scornful laugh and slammed the door as he left. I don't know how long I sat there in a daze, but the once bustling mall had grown eerily quiet. Even the lights in the restroom dimming. The phone rang again, but this time it wasn't Yi Ching. My younger brother was yelling, "Kira Liang, where the hell have you gone? Why aren't you home yet? I'm starving to death. Do you even know that?" A bitter feeling welled up in my heart. "Little brother, your sister has something to tell you." My brother wouldn't listen at all. "What's there to say? Get back here now." Then he hung up the phone. "Your sister is going to die." I stood frozen in place for a long moment, then murmured to the pitch-black screen, "You'll have to learn to cook for yourself now." It's just a pity my brother couldn't hear it, nor would he listen even if he could. Struggling to my feet, I found 5-finger bruises indeed forming on my neck. Merging with the bruise on my chin into one terrifying mark, I took out my powder puff and applied layer after layer until it looked slightly better. If my younger brother sees this, he won't worry anymore. But when has he ever truly cared about me, his older sister? I didn't want to dwell on it any longer and dragged my extremely weak body out of the bathroom. Suddenly, a dark, bony hand blocked my path. I paused suspiciously in my tracks as the newly hired security guard grinned at me with a lewd chuckle. "Little girl, I never expected you used to do that kind of work." A sense of unease crept over me. I instinctively shielded my chest and retorted, "What kind of work?" The guard's wrinkled face oozed with a nauseating lust as he sneered, "Playing innocent with uncle here. Are we? I saw your videos online. You look like a little girl, and quite provocative. How about it? I'm loaded too. Wanna spend the night?" He waved a few $5 and $10 bills, closing in on me with ill intent. I froze completely on the spot. The past I had been avoiding finally caught up like a tidal wave, sweeping me under entirely. I once thought I would be Nico Lu's caged canary for life. After all, apart from his tormenting habits in bed, he was indeed a responsible sugar daddy outside of it. Never stingy with money when it came to me. Moreover, I needed to save my father from the ICU and raise my young brother, ensuring he had a bright future. None of these could be achieved without money. But I never expected that the video Nico Lu coaxed me into secretly recording would one day appear on the school's website. In an instant, a flood of insults and demeaning words came crashing down, drowning me. He had promised me he wouldn't share it. When I went to Nico Lu with reddened eyes, demanding an explanation, he was holding a beautiful, domineering woman in his arms, whispering soothing words. "All right, my future wife. The video's been posted." Still not satisfied. "I was just playing around with her. Don't I also turn a blind eye to your little wolves? What's the big deal about me keeping a cat?" Cat. Nico Lu likes to call me little kitten, but I never realized he truly sees me as a cat, as a pet. Outside the door, I felt as if I had fallen into an abyss, my heart pounding like thunder, yet I never mustered the courage to confront him. After all, I'm just his cat. He, a privileged young master from a prominent family. Having a fiancé is probably the most natural thing in the world. I'm not unaware that his sweet nothings in bed are lies. But, sometimes, I believed them. How foolish. I still exert myself in bed to please him, humbly coaxing him into happiness. Yet the sharp thorn planted in that moment has long festered deep in my chest, rotting and corroding, eating away a gaping hole that has consumed all affection. Those days of forcing smiles, I waited and waited. Until finally the day came when my father passed away from his incurable illness. Meanwhile, Nico Lu was busy bringing his future wife to the monthly family gathering. With no time to spare for me, I secretly returned to the rented apartment, took my younger brother, and fled to a place where no one knew me. Starting over. Back then, I swore to myself that I would protect myself well. So, facing the security guard who was closing in step by step, I clenched my phone tightly and screamed with all my might, "Just try coming any closer." I fled toward the supermarket exit in a panic. If I hadn't resorted to extreme measures, smashing the security guard's head with all my strength, I would never have escaped. The furious security guard hobbled after me, cursing loudly, "You damn bitch, acting all innocent here. Huh, go ahead, run." Let's see how far you get. I swear I'll kill you. I could barely run anymore, my right eye, swollen from the beating, was nearly shut, and my back seemed even more severely injured. Just the slightest movement sent sharp pains shooting through it. My hands still wouldn't stop trembling. Dr. You was right. My blood clotting is very poor. The scraped skin from my recent fall is still bleeding continuously, leaving a trail of blood. Yet, my heart has never felt so unburdened. At least this time, I didn't just sit and wait for death. But why do I always seem to be unable to escape? The blood kept flowing, and my consciousness gradually blurred as I ran slower and slower. The security guard no longer chased me with effort but leisurely followed behind, taunting me like a dog. So you're playing games with me, huh? His filthy hand had already touched my shoulder. At the moment I completely gave up. The silent open-air parking lot erupted with a deafening honk. The high beams suddenly turned on, as if illuminating most of the gloomy night sky. I looked up in shock. Nico Lu's Mercedes was parked by the roadside, his face dark as he stared in this direction. Mr. Lu, hope flared up in me again. Gritting my teeth, I staggered toward him. Mr. Lu, please call the police for me. I was truly getting desperate. Recklessly reaching my hand through the rolled-down car window to rummage through his phone, but Nico Lu swiftly grabbed my wrist, glancing at me with an indifferent expression. What are you calling the police for? My chest heaved violently from agitation, unable to believe what was happening before my eyes. When I turned to look, the security guard had already vanished without a trace. A bitter feeling welled up from deep within me, and my throat became so dry that I could barely speak clearly. You saw it all. He was bullying me. Nico Lu tilted his head innocently, looking completely at ease. But aren't you just selling yourself? What gives you the right to call the police? That expression again, the one used to tease a cat. My eyelashes fluttered. From disbelief to grievance, I froze for what felt like a century. In the end, all my helplessness dissolved into a sigh, and in an infinitely softened voice, there was only mockery. Of course, I'm dying. So I'm taking revenge on society before I go. Is that not allowed? I stared at him, word by word. Perhaps when sorrow reaches its peak, all one can do is laugh. Nico Lu revealed an extremely peculiar expression. Raising his voice impatiently, Kira Liang, you keep talking about death. Is this amusing to you? A dying man can beat a guy until his head bleeds. Don't tell me you've mutated from your illness. All you want is my pity and money, isn't it? With a cold expression, he pulled a checkbook from his suit pocket and flung it disdainfully at my face. Fill in whatever amount you want. I couldn't dodge in time, and the checkbook hit the swollen wound on my forehead directly. I swallowed my cry of pain. My eyes, red and nearly dry, grew moist again. Nico Lu never believed me. Before, in bed, he didn't believe I was truly in pain, truly begging for mercy. Now, he doesn't believe I'm truly ill, truly dying. I really won't be doing business with him anymore. How foolish of me to speak to him so politely. Fine, I'm not sick, and I won't die. I kicked away the checkbook that had fallen by my feet and waved my hand dismissively. But remember, I'm not selling anymore. So don't bother me again. Then who are you selling to? The doctor, Nico Lu immediately retorted, his previously cold eyes now burning with a sickening possessiveness. All I felt was exhaustion. Mr. Lu, can you trust me just this once? I can't sell anymore. Is that okay? I tried to leave. But Nico Lu wouldn't let me go, gripping my arm tightly and saying many unpleasant things. His mouth opened and closed, his eyes filled with countless emotions, as if he were accusing me. Indeed, the young master of the Lu family, a man favored by the heavens, was actually dumped first by a woman, no, by a cat. No wonder, even in my current state, beaten black and blue, so ugly I could scare a ghost to death, he still won't leave me alone. But when a person is close to death, their temper flares up. When Nico Lu wasn't paying attention, I flagged down a taxi on the street and fled in a panic. What a cursed fate. I sighed with emotion. After getting out of the taxi, I stood despondently in front of the dilapidated building in the urban village, having barely scraped together the fare in a fluster. Bewildered, I held my tattered wallet under the streetlight entangled with spiderwebs. How could there not be a single bill left? Sis, My younger brother's displeased voice rang out, his slender frame darted over like the wind. His brows furrowed tightly. Are you out of your mind? Only coming back now? I instinctively took a step back. Normally, my brother would never come to pick me up. Is he short on money? I nervously touched my empty pockets, but my younger brother impatiently grabbed my elbow and pulled me along. Come on, come on. I bought you a birthday cake. I was even more surprised. You remember, my birthday. Only then did I realize today was my birthday, pushing open the door to the rented room. There was indeed a cupcake on the greasy, dust-covered wooden table. The candle on it was nearly burnt out, leaving only flickering spots of light. My brother stuffed it into my hand, deliberately avoiding my gaze. All right, happy birthday to you. Make a wish. The bright candlelight flickered, blurring my vision. My brother celebrated my birthday, looking at the only person in this world who shares my blood. My heart, once riddled with wounds, suddenly softened a little. After all, he's my younger brother. It's okay if he's a bit rebellious, right? With this thought, countless words of advice welled up inside me, but when they reached my lips, all that came out was, I just hope you'll always be happy, and have a bright future. Don't end up like your sister, living a life neither human nor ghost. I silently wished in my heart. How melodramatic. Before I could even blow out the candles, my younger brother grabbed a piece of cake and shoved it into my mouth. His beady eyes flickering with guilt. Damn annoying. I bought you a cake and you're still talking nonsense. Just eat it. I was caught off guard by the beating. The sickly sweet, low-quality cream smeared painfully over the wounds on my face, filling my nostrils as well. I started coughing violently, and the dry, hard-to-swallow cake crumbs went straight into my mouth. It's so bitter. I met my younger brother's uneasy gaze and sensed something was wrong. The next second, the world began to spin. I desperately tried to steady myself in disbelief, but could no longer hold on and fell to the ground. What's wrong with me? My younger brother suddenly fell to his knees, kowtowing to me. Sis, I'm sorry, but I really can't pay back the money. I'm being pushed to the limit. I have no other choice. They said they'd let me off if you spend a night with them. Sis, please help me. My eyes widened in horror, the accusatory words stuck in my dry throat turning into mournful whimpers. I'm your sister. For the first time, I felt the brother before me had become terrifyingly unfamiliar. Ignoring my desperate pleas, he dialed the phone. My sister is ready. You can come over now. Tears burst forth once more, and for a moment, I wanted to kneel and beg my younger brother to spare me out of sibling affection. Yet, I couldn't muster even a shred of strength, left to writhe like a dead fish in the filthy mud. No, I refuse. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my phone lying just a few steps away. Summoning the last of my strength, I tried to crawl toward it, only for my outstretched hand to be brutally crushed under my brother's foot. He suddenly flew into a rage. Sis, it's just sleeping over for one night, isn't it? It's not like you haven't done it before. Can't you just understand the difficulties I'm facing as your younger brother? At the last moment before consciousness faded, I let out a shrill scream of unwillingness. But the stream of thugs entering the room weren't deterred by my scream. It turns out I never escaped the nightmare. When I woke again, I was bound to the bed in an extremely humiliating position. My limbs were all secured to the four corners of the bed with cold handcuffs, completely immobilized. In a panic, I tried to sit up and saw Nico Lou kneeling at the foot of the bed, calmly unfastening the silver buttons on his cuffs. Those mesmerizing eyes glanced over indifferently, letting out a mocking laugh. Weren't you refusing to sell? How did you end up in my bed then? First you sold yourself for your father, now for your brother. You really do love your family, don't you? I stood frozen in place, then burst out cursing. I told you, I'm not selling. A massive wave of panic surged from my chest, and the instinct to survive made me raise my hand, only to be hindered by the locked handcuffs, sending me crashing back onto the bed. No matter what I say, he won't let me go. But with Nico Lou, it's too painful. I'm not afraid of death, but I don't want to die in such agony. My voice trembled, tears welling up in my eyes, falling drop by drop. Nico Lou, I'm really sick. Please don't treat me like this. Nico Lou, who had already taken off his shirt, paused for a moment, Seizing this lifeline, I hurriedly added, "The test report is in my coat pocket. Please, go look at it." Nico Lu raised an eyebrow, the chill around him intensifying. "Kira Liang. You know the consequences of lying to me." I shivered again for no reason. At the same time, a secret anticipation of revenge rose in my heart. Nico Lu hates nothing more than people and things that don't obey him. Now, not only have I run away, but I'm also about to die, no longer able to be his plaything. Nico Lu, paranoid to the point of madness, will surely lose his mind. I waited, and sure enough, as Nico Lu unfolded the thick stack of test results, his expression grew increasingly grim. The slightly trembling hand suddenly stopped at the last page, the veins on his arm bulging instantly. The oppressive aura emanating from him was enough to make one shudder. Is it a sign of serious illness, or a prop for flirting with your lover? Nico Lu's slender fingers picked up a yellow sticky note and handed it to me. It was Yi Qing's handwriting. "Kira, if you don't mind, be with me." "No," before I could finish my protest. Nico Lu tore the report in his hands to shreds and threw it behind him, pressing his entire body against mine. He kissed me fiercely, gripping me tightly. I cried and begged, but he turned a deaf ear. "I don't understand, this was supposed to be something two people in the deepest love would do. Why does it hurt so much?" Those familiar yet strange things, grotesquely shaped, went in and out, stirring and stirring. It felt like holes had been torn through my internal organs, blood pooling in a mess, as if everything had shattered and turned to mush. Warm liquid also flowed from my nose, dripping down onto my chest. The frenzied Nico Lu didn't notice, his fingers brushing against the fluid on my face, laughing even more disdainfully in his busyness, still saying no. "Then why are you trembling, my little kitten?" Truly says one thing but means another, but he soon sensed something was amiss. If it were tears, they were too sticky. Nico Lu turned on the light, and in his frozen state, he finally caught the overwhelming scent of blood filling the room. He looked at me in shock as I lay unconscious in a pool of blood, his face showing helplessness for the first time. "Kira Liang, why are you bleeding so much?" I knew Yi Chen would definitely give me a hard time, slowly opening my eyes. All I could see was a vast expanse of white, accompanied by the familiar smell of disinfectant. Yi Qing's delicate eyes were veiled with mist, normally gentle. He sat by my bedside, repeatedly flipping through several pages of medical reports, the atmosphere heavy with tension. "Kira Liang, do you realize you lost nearly 10,000 milliliters of blood this time? You almost didn't make it back from death's door." The reproach in his tone was palpable. I think I was in the emergency room for an exceptionally long time. So long that I hazily felt I might never come out again. I chickened out, secretly burrowing into the covers, half opening my eyes to glance around the hospital room before breathing a sigh of relief. Nico Lu wasn't there. Yi Qing saw through my feigned sleep and guessed what I was thinking, speaking cautiously. "I've called the police for you, because your test results showed." He hesitated, then averted his eyes. "I've seen that look too many times. After such humiliating videos were made public, those covert, malicious, gleeful sidelong glances and whispers felt like countless tiny needles pricking my skin. I knew I must have looked terrible when I was brought in, so it was only natural for Yi Qing to think of me that way. He still likes me. It must feel as disgusting as swallowing a fly." Suppressing the rising bitterness, I adjusted the already neatly buttoned collar of my hospital gown and softly said, "Thank you." Yi Qing's face momentarily showed a pained expression. "Kira, this isn't your fault. I promise that bastard won't lay a finger on you again. Rest easy. I won't disturb you." As soon as he stood up, the tightly closed hospital room door was pushed open. Nico Lu's usual neatness was gone, replaced by bloodshot eyes and the stubble on his chin that hadn't been shaved in time. Seeing Yi Qing blocking my way, he didn't even bother to lift his eyelids. "Get lost." Yi Qing wasn't afraid of him. "Hello, this is a hospital ward. No entry without permission," Nico Lu scoffed, and upon noticing the name tag on Yi Qing's chest, displeasure rose between his brows. Two men were at daggers drawn. If they started fighting in the hospital, it wouldn't be good for me. Helpless, I spoke up. "Dr. Yi, please step out first. I need to talk with Nico Lu." Yi Ching turned back in disbelief. I forced a faint smile at him. And only then did he reluctantly glare at Nico Lu before leaving. Nico Lu watched the door slam shut with a hint of fleeting triumph in his eyes. Turning to me, his tone was still accusatory. "Is he your new lover?" I turned my head away, ignoring him. The ward fell into an ominous silence, thick with the tension before a volcanic eruption. Leaning against the propped-up pillow with my eyes closed, I waited for Nico Lu to demand an answer from me in a fit of rage. Nico Lu was unexpectedly silent. He moved the folding chair from the other side of the bed and insisted on sitting right in front of me, annoyingly in the way, speaking with an eerie gentleness. "Kira Liang, what's really wrong with you? What's wrong with me? Isn't it obvious?" I repeated wearily once more. I said, "I'm dying, Kira." Nico Lu called my name, enunciating each word heavily, as if I had committed some heinous crime. "I've told you, joking about death isn't funny." I narrowed my eyes, looking at him as if he were an idiot, feeling utterly exhausted. "Fine, then I'm deficient in vitamin C, so I got a nosebleed. Happy now? Are you satisfied?" The lingering note betrays the hatred I can't conceal. Nico Lu got the answer he wanted, yet instead of being pleased, he brought up another matter. "A few days ago, you misunderstood me. I followed you home and saw you being carried out by a group of people. Later, I found out it was because your younger brother borrowed online loans for gaming and couldn't repay them. So, my heart remained as indifferent as my expression. Having nearly died once, I truly cared about nothing anymore. Nico Lu thought he could use my brother to control me. Don't worry. I've already paid off your brother's debt. I've also sent those thugs away. They won't bother you again." As he spoke, he inexplicably grabbed my hand and asked earnestly, "Kira, you've had a hard time these years. Let me take care of you, okay?" I withdrew my hand and retorted with a smirk, "So what, am I supposed to thank you for saving me? Is getting into your bed supposed to be some kind of privilege?" I didn't want to talk to Nico Lu anymore. Lowering my head, I yanked out the 4 tube and forced myself off the bed, limping toward the door. "If my brother owes you money, go ask him for it. It's none of my business if he gets beaten to death by thugs. You too. Save whoever you want. It's none of my damn business." My mouth is tough, but my body is weak. My legs were like flimsy chopsticks that could snap easily. After just a few steps, I collapsed to my knees. "Kira Liang," Nico Lu called out to me urgently, scooping me up without a word, facing my guarded expression. His voice faltered, yet he remained as domineering as ever. "You can't be discharged. You need to stay and replenish your vitamin C. The Lu family is wealthy and powerful." I was transferred from the general ward to the VIP ward. The medications I was accustomed to disappeared, replaced by various drugs with obscure and hard-to-pronounce names, which were continuously pumped into my body day and night through thin tubes. Occasionally, I felt better, but most of the time, I didn't. My younger brother still came to visit me, but I turned my back and pretended to be asleep. Nico Lu also understood what I meant and later directly drove him away. Days passed, and I grew thinner by the day, almost reduced to a shadow, lying in the hospital bed as if a gentle breeze could carry me away. Nico Lu stayed by my side almost the entire day. The 4 drips were painful, and my body felt unwell, so I would scold him every single day. "Do I really need this many 4s? Nico Lu answered with certainty, saying yes. Now, he's not only foolish but also blind. The medical record clearly states that I have chronic leukemia that has turned acute. With the illness progressing to this stage, even if Hua Tuor were reborn, I would still be beyond salvation." Nico Lu didn't think so. Slowly peeling an apple, he suggested, "Let's go to the U.S. in a few days. Didn't you want to see the sunset over the sea in LA?" Not going. I was firm. What sea in LA? I'd already heard him contacting hospitals there these past few days, talking about testing new treatments on me. What kind of torment awaits is secondary. If I'm actually cured, I'll really be stuck with Nico Lu for life. Disgusting. At this thought, I forced myself up and grabbed the whip from the nightstand. Summoning all my strength, I swung it. But the heavy whip merely gave a lazy flick, lightly tapping Nico Lu's ankle. Nothing happened. I looked suspiciously at the floor, then suspiciously at Nico Lu. Nico Lu sighed helplessly and took the whip. The crisp sound of the whip rang out, startling me into stillness. After a long moment, the familiar searing pain didn't come. I timidly opened my eyes. That whip had landed on Nico Lu himself, splitting open the firm muscles of his forearm. But unlike me, Nico Lu showed no particular expression. Steadying myself, I lit the red candle beside me and held it up, letting the scalding wax drip onto the torn wound. Nico Lu trembled slightly but ultimately held back. I made him wear those shameful rags again, put on a collar, and crawl around the hospital room like a dog, barking like one. I even took out those toys. Though I lacked strength, he ended up hurting himself, so even Nico Lu could be reduced to such a pitiful state. I burst into laughter, but soon felt bored again. Exhausted, I sank back into the bed. After finishing up, Nico Lu mustered the courage to lie down beside my hand, his coarse sideburns gently brushing against my emaciated fingers. "Kira, are you happy now?" I let out a heavy sigh, feeling hollow inside. "Why does abusing others make you happy?" Nico Lu clearly didn't expect me to ask that. He hesitated for a long time before finally saying, "I'm sorry." I pretended not to hear, my thoughts drifting far away, as forgotten memories from the corners of my mind flashed before me like a magic lantern. "I don't understand. You still say, I'm just a cat to you." Nico Lu's voice carried unmistakable pain. "I was wrong, Kira. You're not my cat. You could be my girlfriend, my fiancée, or my wife." He buried his face, and my hand inexplicably became wet. Nico Lu seemed to be crying. "Please, get better. Don't leave me. Get better. And you can treat me however you want. I can't get better." At first, I could still stubbornly hold on to my anger and torment Nico Lu. "It's just that this illness is too terrifying." In the end, I could barely breathe, relying entirely on Nico Lu spending a fortune daily to keep me alive. He refused to let me go. The pain of terminal illness is far more agonizing than those minor struggles in bed. What must come will come. After many years, I saw Nico Lu's fiancée again, apparently named by Jiaoxin. She wore delicate makeup, her jet black hair casually pinned up into a loose bun. The very picture of a refined lady, yet her eyes held nothing but chilling malice. Bai Jiaoxin stood by my bedside, her slender fingers gliding over the life support equipment. A single press could snatch away my life. She finally chose to pinch my oxygen tube. Bai Jiaoxin lazily asked, "Will you drop the sexual assault case against you or not?" I blinked in confusion before remembering that the case Yi Qing had filed for me had never been withdrawn. The Lu family had only managed to get Nico Lu out on bail through connections, but the case was still ongoing. A few days ago, he came to tell me that he had found a way to notify the Lu family's arch-rival. And this matter could no longer be kept under wraps. No wonder Bai Jiaoxin came to see me today. I felt so exhilarated that my laughter sprayed onto the oxygen mask, forming an annoying cloud of white mist. "So even you people have things you can't handle." Bai Jiaoxin's expression darkened further as he took out his tablet. The screen clearly displayed a degrading video of Nico Lu crawling on the ground and barking like a dog. With the view count already surpassing 10 million, she asked me, "These videos, you're the one who uploaded them, right?" "Of course. I have never known how, nor wanted to, mistreat others." Nico Lu guessed that I wanted to give him a taste of his own medicine, but he didn't guess which incident I truly sought revenge for. The suffering I wanted him to taste was the humiliation of being scorned and trampled by thousands, stripped of all dignity. Nico Lu, young and promising, the young master of the Lu family, his current wretched and vulgar state would stir up far more of a storm than when I, a mere girl, faced such scrutiny back then. I really want to see how everyone tears into him, but I don't have the strength anymore. Furious and desperate, Bai Jiaoxin clenched the tube tightly. Instantly, I suffocated from lack of oxygen, my frail, tormented limbs writhing wildly in agony as the life monitor emitted a shrill, piercing alarm. Immediately followed by a series of hurried footsteps, countless people rushed in. Someone tore open my clothes and pressed several cold objects against me, followed by compressions that nearly broke my ribs and electric shocks that almost shattered my soul. "So this is how peaceful everything feels when you're about to die." Through my blurred vision, Nico Lu seemed to charge forward and slap Bai Jiaoxin hard across the face. At the moment the doctor declared the resuscitation unsuccessful. He knelt down, crying bitterly, begging me to wake up and spend the rest of my life with him. Bad luck, get lost, who on earth would want to be with you? Times Nico Lu extra story, Kira Liang is gone. It took Nico Lu a long time to slowly come to terms with this fact. He had no heart for business, nor for the Lu family, drinking himself into a stupor every day in the empty penthouse, waking only to drink again. Nico Lu became obsessed with dreams, where Kira Liang existed, where he treated her well, and where she loved him dearly. In reality, it was quite the opposite. For him, the arranged marriage was just a duty. So when Bai Jiaoxin discovered he was enjoying it too much, she angrily filmed and posted the videos online. At first, he didn't think much of it. He could simply handle all the leaked videos quietly the next day. But Kira Liang changed after that, becoming gloomy, no longer kissing him as she used to in moments of joy, and unwilling to nestle into his arms for warmth. Instead, she simply tilted her body slightly as she stood up, saying she had to go back and take care of her younger brother. Later, she actually ran away. It turned out to be this cat that abandoned him first. Nico Lu went crazy, searching for her for a full 5 years. Just when he was about to give up, he unexpectedly saw her in a supermarket near headquarters. Kira Liang is still beautiful, just a bit thinner and more haggard. Seeing him was like encountering a wolf, yet she claimed to be ill, on the verge of death. Nonsense. Nico Lu couldn't control his desire for Kira Liang, yet was infuriated by her stubbornness, hurting her again and again. Actually, he remembered that Kira Liang was most afraid of pain. Later, Nico Lu thought more than once that if he had been gentler at that time, or simply held her and talked, would things have turned out differently. Kira Liang also made a video. The Lu family's PR department quickly suppressed it, destroying all traces online. But he kept a copy for himself, only because Kira Liang was also captured in it. Kira Liang hadn't smiled so happily in a long time. He greedily re-watched those dozen seconds over and over, trying to etch them into his heart. After a month of self-indulgence and decadence, not only Bai Jiaoxin, but even his father grew tired of him. Stripping him of all privileges and transferring them to the illegitimate son, Nico Lu didn't care anymore. He tapped on Kira Liang's name on the screen, recalling the unanswered question, why does abusing others bring you joy? Truthfully, Nico Lu wasn't strictly obsessed with it, nor did it bring him happiness. When he was little, every time his father cheated, his mother would take it out on him to seek attention, beating him until he was half dead, then throwing herself on him, crying and apologizing, saying she loved him. It wasn't until much later that Nico Lu realized, if you love someone, you wouldn't bear to see them in pain. Nico Lu had no idea how he ended up here. His last memory was of drinking at the bar, feeling dizzy, and then waking up confined in this cramped, dim room. Not a single piece of clothing covered his body. A pot-bellied man wearing a Catwoman mask and a short skirt eyed him with great interest. I heard young Master Lu is also an enthusiast. Care to try something special? Before Nico Lu could refuse, a gag was shoved into his mouth. As the thing with fangs entered from behind, Nico Lu was so startled that cold sweat broke out all over his body. Old wounds that hadn't yet healed were layered with fresh ones, and the previously bearable minor pains accumulated into an excruciating torment that stabbed at his heart with every movement. Nico Lu nearly fainted, whether it was tears or sweat that blurred his vision. He realized for the first time, it turns out that her plea for mercy was genuine. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. See you in the next video.